All right, on today's show, we have Chris Singleton. We're really excited to have Chris here. Chris, thanks for joining us on the program today.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
Former MLB player, analyst, and jumping in on a new gig working for the players in Major League Baseball. So we'll try to get to all of those things.
Sounds good.
One of the things that I love jumping into the show is just giving the kids a picture, giving students an understanding on kind of what success can look like. Yeah. And so often it's really that idea of just meeting one person who is already living their dream and understanding what that is. And frankly, I think there's a lot of life lessons out of that as well.
Sure.
So with your permission, I'd love to jump back kind of to the beginning.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of a nutshell on Chris Singleton, the kid, the young child. Was baseball always the goal? Tell me what that looks like you as in childhood.
Yeah, I'd say that baseball. I played baseball, played soccer, played football, played basketball. Pretty much everything that I could do because I was pretty athletic and pretty versatile. Mm-hmm. But I would say that baseball was the first love. Baseball and soccer were the two that I spent the most time and effort and energy into, and still remember my first Little League season and the parade to start opening day and right in the back of the pickup truck and just everything decorated. Just a very memorable experience for me that'll always stick with me. But yeah, it was Little League was I would say his first love. You'd have an 8 o'clock game on a Saturday morning. And that uniform doesn't come off until about 10 p.m. at night. By the time you're done playing, you stay at the ballpark, play around, then you come home, then you're playing more baseball or doing something outside, and then finally shed the uniform by late that night. But that's just how much I love being a kid, love being at the ballpark.
Where was home for you when you were a child?
Yeah, I grew up in Northern California,
in
the East Bay area, east of San Francisco. Go Niners, by the way. Yeah, that was it was growing up in the East Bay area was where I was, and just had a good situation as far as Little League coaches and people around me. I grew up, home was broken. My parents divorced when I was 8, so I didn't have quite the support and the structure that is ideal. So I really was dependent on those Little League coaches, those soccer coaches, to be able to be flexible, to be able to pick me up for practice, bring me home. So I am forever indebted to some of those individuals that played a huge role in my life when I didn't have the stability of both parents at home. Mom had to work pretty hard, so she wasn't around to be able to take me to practices and stuff like that, and sometimes even games.
Right. Yeah. I look at it even. I mean, we are at a private Christian school. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, everybody's lives must be just perfect, right? And they're not. I'm always amazed when I'm chatting with kids, and we are truly their source of stability. Like we're the place that they're considering home. We're the place that they feel safe in, comfortable in, and I'm always intrigued, talking with different adults now to see. So athletics really provided a lot of that stability for you.
Yeah. Just being part of a team, I think is so important for life, just to be part of something that's bigger than yourself, understanding, winning together, losing together, bouncing back, having resilience, the thrill of victory and, the agony of defeat, the old ABC commercial. But yeah, sports is an incredible, in so many ways, it's such an incredible development tool, and can also be a great tool and avenue for the gospel, for leadership, for developing kids. And obviously every kid's not going to grow up and be a college player or a professional player, but there's so much that they can learn under the leadership of a coach and assistant coaches and individuals like that playing sports, at a young age. And that's what it did for me.
When did you move out of the California region?
I went to I went to college on a football scholarship.
Okay.
I played football at the University of Nevada in Reno. So
I didn't realize it was a football scholarship.
Yeah.
I was assuming it was a baseball scholarship.
Yeah, so I was drafted out of high school by the Houston Astros to play baseball, but I really wasn't that interested at the time. The first love was sort of put on the back burner, and I'd really just become, just infatuated with football and wanted to play college football on Saturdays. That's really was the motivator. I didn't even know if I was going to play baseball after high school because I was just so geared towards football. But in negotiating my college scholarship because I was drafted out of high school, or I was going to be drafted. We agreed, the University of Nevada agreed, that once I established myself in football, that I could, go out and play baseball if I wanted to. So the baseball coach was really happy because I was on a full ride for football, so he didn't have to use any of his baseball resources to get a player that he thought would help their program.
Fascinating. So I really never saw that in the story. So so that's pretty cool. So when did you actually begin thinking about doing this as a career? Like were you young dreaming about this, or was that just not a reality? Sports was just something to do.
I always saw myself playing sports, but I can't say that I automatically knew that, this is what I want to do. I mean, I think as a kid, I just, growing up in the Bay Area, we had some really successful San Francisco 49ers teams, guys like Joe Montana and Freddie Solomon, and just, some great players, Ronnie Lott. So I saw a lot of success there, and, being in the East Bay area, we were, touched every now and then by maybe having a professional athlete come by the school or something in our local area. So there was a connection that I felt like I had with professional sports, but not really, it's tangible to say, yeah, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. Or I just knew that I wanted to be successful and make money so that I could take care of my mom, because my mom was, working really hard. And she was working a blue-collar job as a single mom, divorced woman. And
you have siblings as well?
Yeah, I had a brother and a sister that were older than I was. And, I was the baby, and I was around kind of a lot and saw the brunt of a lot of things. And just wanted to be able to be in a position. And I think at that time I saw athletics as a way to sort of hit the financial jackpot where it's like, hey, I could take care of mom.
That's right.
So that was really a motivator for me. And everybody's got to have a motivator when they're playing the game, something that drives you. And so even though it would have been ideal to have a two-parent home and have the structure and have all of those things, I'm thankful that I had a motivator to push me to where I ultimately got to go. Yeah. And so everyone's got a story, and that's my story, and that's what contributed to me having the success on the field. At the minimum, it was a college scholarship because knowing my mom couldn't afford to pay for me to go to college. So at the minimum, and that was going to make her very proud just for me to go to college. So, that was the thing. It's like, okay, check the box, college scholarship. Here we go. That's good. Everything else is gravy at this point.
I'm going to come back to the draft decision because I'm fascinated by that. But I do want to ask the question. I know that you're an ordained pastor. Faith is really, really important to you. At what point in time in your life does faith become important to you?
It becomes very important, life-changing when I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
same age as me, by the way.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. It's a great time. Lot of choices, when
it's a transition period.
When we're getting to that age, a lot of choices that can take you left or right. And for me, I received Christ when I was 8 years old, but I really didn't get discipled and didn't understand the heart of God. I didn't understand what the gospel really was. I mean, you could ask me, and I didn't know what the gospel was. I just knew that, we were, as a family, we went to church more times than not. It was religion, not much of understanding relationship. And in fact, God was kind of scary to me in some ways. So probably served him out of fear, or at least went to church out of fear based upon what I experienced. But it was when I was 18 when things really just, changed for me. And I didn't expect it by any means. I thought, kind of growing up in sort of a religious home, I thought that, once I go through my younger years and, get to an older age, I'll settle down and I'll find my spot in church and, and I'll become a good person. But, God had other plans for me and totally interrupted my life at 18 and, put in front of me an opportunity to choose, him, to serve him, or to just stay in my way of life and all of the uncertainty that, that would bring in terms of, just whether my salvation, whether my purpose for life, the decisions that I would make. And, little did I know that it would be so life altering, that I don't know who I would be or what I would be. And I don't just say from a professional athlete standpoint, I just say from a life standpoint.
Right.
I don't know what kind of person I would be.
Husband. Yeah, absolutely.
All of those things. There's so many, patterns that I could have perhaps repeated from, the generation before, from my father or even my mother, had I not been able to have my mind renewed by, the scriptures and through a relationship with God, which could have, caused me to make all kinds of poor decisions.
Very similar. Like I walked an aisle when I was 7 or 8. Was even baptized during that period of time. But it wasn't until I was 17, 18, and that's when it stopped being vicarious faith and it began being my own faith. Was rebaptized and really plunged kind of headlong in it. So this is the same chapter that I'm most intrigued with. So here you are getting drafted fresh out of high school.
Yeah.
There's got, I know with baseball, at least from what I've seen with my students over the last 3 decades, signing bonus kind of tells everything with baseball, right? So you kind of know whether you ever going to play pro or not off of what they're offering you for signing bonus. But that would be easy money, like to say no to that and to go on to college and not even like baseball is your primary sport, but football is your primary sport. Yeah. That's a super risky decision. So tell me, like, who's guiding you through that? Is that just internal? What does that look like? Because that seems like such a countercultural decision that you made.
Well, I think part of it because I wasn't drafted high, and scouts knew that I wanted to go to college and play football. So they weren't going to waste a higher draft pick on a guy that probably was going to go to college and play football. So it was just sort of a long shot, I think, on the Houston Astros side of things to say, we'll give it a shot. We'll draft him 30th. At least we'll have his rights. In baseball, when you get drafted like that and you don't sign, they have your rights for like a year or two or something. So I think that was sort of their play. Had it been, first round, second round, third round money out of high school, I think there would have been a big difference,
right.
That I would have been looking at in my family. But regardless, I was dialed into football.
Right.
As soon as high school baseball season was over, I was off to football camp in the summer, and that's what I loved doing. And so I never played any extra baseball other than the high school season. And today that's unheard of. Some kids hardly play the high school season because they're playing travel ball and they're doing so much, which we didn't have the opportunities that kids have today to play baseball. You can play baseball 24/7 nowadays. It wasn't that way. And you know how it was growing up for us. So we didn't, sport wasn't so specialized, and you usually just played whatever season it was and enjoyed playing for your school or whatever it was. But now it's almost, if you don't spend the time in one sport and do all the extra training, you'll get left behind.
Don't you feel a little sad for the kids nowadays where they do have to specialize?
Yeah.
Where we had the chance to play all the seasons. I wasn't so troubled. I grew up in Eastern Canada, played hockey, was on a travel team, but it wasn't the high stakes like it is nowadays. It was just different, and now kids, they have to specialize, and it's life.
Yeah. It's busy. It's a busy life for parents and for kids. And I am thankful for growing up, in the time that I did. We were just talking the other day with the kids about, phone booths and telephones and how, if you would, because we didn't have cell phones, which kids can't, even imagine not having a cell phone. And, if you needed to get in touch with someone and you called and you left a message, you gave them the phone number to that phone booth. And so you would, hold the little phone doggle down, and act like you were talking on the phone, just so someone else wouldn't come in and use the phone. And then the phone line's busy when someone tried to call you. So just those things that it's just, for kids today, they would just say, oh, that's just so antiquated.
Right.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun not having as many opportunities and options as a kid, because you could really get dialed in. We had channel 2, 4, 5, 7, and 12 maybe.
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard choosing something to watch on television. Now it's hard to even watch something because you got Netflix, you've got all these different, Hulu and Tubi and just your regular cable lineup. So yeah, it was really great growing up the time that I grew up. And some people would say, oh, this technology is great and it's all wonderful. I enjoy the technology, but I think our kids today are missing out a little bit on just sort of some of that authenticity of living life the way that we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, during that time, was there any discussion of you going pro football?
Yeah. It was when I was drafted. So I didn't play baseball for about 2 years after high school. Then after my sophomore year of college and playing football, I decided to go out for baseball to see if I didn't even know if I was even good enough because these guys that are playing baseball, it's all they're playing is baseball. Right. And I'm playing football, and I hadn't played for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So let's see. And I just kind of did it just to see if I was good enough to play in college, and ended up doing pretty well, and played 2 seasons then of baseball, and then was drafted high by the San Francisco Giants. And so I left, and I still had at least one more year of football. I had a year and a redshirt year left. And so when I was gone, it would have been my senior year, which I went back to campus, and there, some scouts had come through to watch some film on me. And one of the scouts gave me a call and said, hey, if you change your mind and you ever decide to come back to football, here's my contact information. I'm going to leave it up here at the field house. And so there was, I don't know. I was a wide receiver. I was kind of a little bit before my time because there was a time when wide receivers were really small and fast.
Right.
And so I was, 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds, 205 pounds.
Right.
So I started to become more that prototype size receiver.
That's right.
That we see so much more of today. And so that was what I had going for me. But, to be honest, I'm so thankful that I chose baseball. And the real eye-opener for me was after playing my first season of baseball and then going back and playing football, and the difference that I would feel. Like, we could play a Friday, Saturday, Sunday baseball game.
Right.
And you're like, after the game, let's go out and do something.
That's right.
Saturday, let's go do something. Saturday football game, after the game was over, I would sit on my couch and just numb because you took so many hits that day. Yeah. You're hurting in places where you don't even realize that. I don't even remember getting hit there. And it was just, you're done. It was a totally different feeling. So that was, in that regard, it was an easy decision to make, to say, yeah, I'm going to go play baseball, especially when I was drafted high, much higher than I ever thought that I would have been drafted. And it's like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. It's going to be easier on my body. There's more longevity to it. And the contracts are guaranteed as well. So there was a lot going for baseball, and I just had to make a decision that seemed to make the most sense. But, more than anything, the Lord was in it. And I remember when I was practicing baseball that second year, which would have been my draft eligible year. And, as many kids know, whether it's high school, college, well, it's changing now, but, when we had dirt fields and, grass infields and everything like that, you'd have to clean up the field after practice. Right. So, practice is over, you're grabbing rakes, you're grabbing different things like that. And so we had done our work, and my coach was dragging the field, and we had to go do conditioning. He said, okay, go out and run these sprints in the outfield. And so I was kind of dogging it a little bit, especially when his back was towards us, and he's dragging the infield. And I really just felt like the Spirit of God whispered to me and said, do you really want to do this? Because I'm going to open doors for you, but if you don't do it as unto me, then I'm not going to put you in that position. And so I was like, it was a wake-up call for me to realize that, I need to do this as unto the Lord, not as unto a man, not as unto a coach when he's looking and when he's not looking, that, I need to train hard and I need to do what I'm supposed to do as an act of worship, to the Lord. So really sobered me up there and changed my perspective a little bit, and things just started to fall in place.
Now, you go second round to San Francisco. Tell me what that looks like, going minors to majors.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a slugfest in there.
Sure. And it was a lot more for me because I didn't have that much baseball experience.
Right.
So, you know, I go to the minor leagues and I'm playing against guys that all they've been doing for most of their life is playing baseball.
Right.
You know, they played high school ball, they played travel ball, because they did have travel ball, but it just wasn't like it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Like today you can, you know, fall out of bed into a travel ball team,
Right,
or league, but they did have, you know, travel ball, they had summer ball. But for me, it was just baseball season in high school, and I was done. So when I got into pro ball, I had a lot of work to do to catch up. I had the athletic ability, and probably more athletic ability than most of the guys, and that's what I was drafted off of. My athletic ability. They figured, hey, he's got things we can't teach him to do. He's got speed. He's got instinct. We'll teach him how to hit. We'll teach him how to, you know, run the bases properly. And so, you know, going through the minor leagues, it was fun. It was some of the best times of my life.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was great. It was, I mean, just the memories that you have, because even though I was drafted and I had a nice signing bonus, you're still in the minor leagues. You're in some of these little podunk towns around the country, and, you know, living conditions aren't all that, you know, glamorous.
Right.
And you're making, you know, $800 a month or something like that. And so there was just a lot more connection, a lot more fellowship with other teammates and families, because you had to pool your resources.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do something on an off day, hey, we go to the lake and we're going to grill out. So everybody's got to bring something. We got to put it all together to make it happen. Whereas when you're in the major leagues, you're self-sufficient.
Right.
You don't really need anyone else. Even if you're a rookie and you're not making, you know, $25-30 million, you're still making, you know, if it was today, you'd be making $800,000. You know, and so you don't really have to depend on anyone. So I enjoyed the minor league journey of, you know, at least in that aspect of being connected with guys, having stories. You know, in fact, just, you know, the memories, and some of my best friends from the sport are guys that I played with in the minor leagues that maybe didn't make it to the major leagues like myself. Like, for example, Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers quarterback. His dad, Sean, is a very good friend of mine. We came up through the minor leagues together, and we're brothers in the Lord, and just, you know, stayed connected over all of these years. So it's really cool for me to grow up having been a 49ers fan, and then also get to cheer for Brock. So, you know, things like that were cool, but it goes back to relationships that were grassroots level relationships. They weren't, you know, established off of any pretense. It was just that, hey, we're in this together, man. We're trying to get through, enjoy these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before the game, and, you know, go out and win and play. So it was fun in that regard, but it also became a challenge when I felt like I had played well enough in the minors to be, you know, granted a promotion to the major leagues. And when you're hitting your head on the ceiling for a couple of seasons in a row, where I was on the 40-man roster, which is the major league extended roster, which means that in September, when they expand the rosters from 25 to 40, they typically call up more guys that are on the 40-man roster. And so having played and had good seasons, been an all-star in AA and had some time in AAA, and not getting called up to the big leagues, I started to really question and wonder, you know, what's going on, and am I ever going to make it, you know, to the major leagues? And I remember having a conversation. I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, playing AA baseball, and there was a great church that we were a part of there. And I just remember one Sunday, you know, talking to a buddy who was actually a former minor league player that was now the high school baseball coach at Evangel Christian Academy. And we were just sitting back talking, and I was really discouraged because I felt like, you know, I don't know if I should continue, you know, this beyond this year. I got a wife. Eventually we're going to have kids, and maybe I need to go ahead and invest in some other type of career so that I can, you know, establish something for our family. And I felt like I was at a crossroads, and we just, you know, talked it through. And, you know, by the grace of God, I just hung in there and was, you know, got traded from the San Francisco Giants to the New York Yankees. and then was with the Yankees for 1 year in AAA, and then got traded to the White Sox, and that's when I went to the major leagues, and everything changed at that point. But going through the minor leagues was a great experience, and I think it helps you appreciate once you get to the big leagues. And it is even better that I got married in the minor leagues, because my wife understands the struggle as well. That's so that when we both got to the top, we weren't overwhelmed by it, and it wasn't like, okay, let's just lose our minds with spending or being somebody. We understood, we kind of had more humble beginnings, so it was easier to enjoy the life instead of being consumed by the life.
Did she travel with you for all of that? Or did she stay put?
We got married in 1996, so she was with me for 2 or 3 years in the minor leagues.
Okay.
And so
hey, it's real then.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't marry me for my money at that point. In fact, I think she was probably making more than I was before we got married at her corporate job. So, yeah, so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for being blessed with a wife, and now married for 27, almost 28 years. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and it just seems like it goes pretty fast. And so, kids listening, if you're listening, man, enjoy buckle up. Yeah. Be present in every season that you're in of life and sport, and get the most out of it, because it's gonna go fast. It doesn't seem like it right now, but it's gonna go really fast.
And I love the fact that you're applying the same kind of spiritual law that you learned by dragging the field. Are you going to drag the field unto my own glory, or are you going to do it just for yourself? And now you get to apply that. So now I've seen movies, I've read books on this. Tell me what it feels like your first time in the majors in your rookie season. You're stepping onto the field. Like, just take us to that. That must be just ingrained in your memory.
Yeah, it's a surreal feeling, because it's something that, for the most part, you have, dreamed about for many, many years. And they call it the show for a reason, because the lights are brighter, the baseballs are whiter, the fields are immaculate, the stands, were packed with people. You've got second and third level. It's everything that you would imagine as a kid playing in the backyard when you're dreaming up that scenario of being in the major leagues and bottom of the ninth inning and bases loaded. So just stepping on the field, it was really surreal for me. At first we opened the season in Seattle my rookie year, and I don't think I played in that first series on the road, but just the fact that I was in the major leagues and I was, in the dugout was a really cool feeling. And it was a time for me to reflect, because, having grown up in a broken home, my brother was 6 years older than I was. So he went off to the military and was in the Air Force, and just a good big brother. He was like a dad. He bought me my, baseball equipment, my gloves, my bats, bought me my first car, all that. And so he had been killed in a car accident.
Oh my goodness.
When I was in the minor leagues. And so when I made it to the major leagues, it was very, very sentimental for me, because I felt like he should have been there, and that he's a big reason why I got to, where I was. And so, I didn't get to play that first series in Seattle, but we went home to Chicago and we were playing Kansas City. And that's when I got my first, big league experience, my first big league at bat. Didn't get a hit my first at bat, but I got to hit my second at bat, which was cool. And it was unbelievable when I was standing on deck, getting ready to walk to home plate. It's hard to even describe how it feels.
You had a phenomenal rookie season.
Yeah.
I mean, like mind blowing.
Yeah.
You hit the cycle for first rookie, right? Ever in club history?
No, I think the first rookie in probably like 20 or 25 years. I think. I don't remember.
I mean, remarkable.
Yeah.
So how does that look like for a team? Like how does that progress you as a team?
As far as hitting for the cycle?
Yeah, for just as a player, how is that advancing you when you're having that kind of a rookie season?
Oh, it really laid the foundation for me, for my career. Was able to springboard off of that and play the next, several years, having established, myself as a major league player,
right.
My rookie year in a, pretty good sized market.
Right.
It's one thing not to take anything away from anywhere anyone plays, but your markets are, New York, LA, Boston, Chicago are like the big markets. And, they can be considered, tougher places to play because the media's harder.
Towns,
sports towns. And so to have established myself in a good sized market like Chicago, it really helped me to get some more mileage, out of my career.
Yeah. I gotta back up to Mom just for a second, just because you're jumping into this kind of stratospheric money, totally different than you'd ever probably imagined in life. And you'd said you're always going to take care of Mom. Did you end up doing something big for her?
Yeah. I was able to buy her a house,
awesome.
and she was living in Arizona at the time, and was able to get a house. Was able to move her here, sell that house, get her another house. She passed away in 2020, but she got to be here with us for a good 10 years, just 4 or 5 miles away from where we lived. So that was cool, but it was just great being able to take pressure, off of her. And she was a hardworking woman. So even though I had made it to the major leagues and I was making, pretty good money, she still didn't, sit back with her hand out. She still worked hard and, did business and was an entrepreneur at that point and was taking care of herself. But it was good to know, I think for her, that at least her son was, able to take care of himself, and if she ever needed help, that that I would be able to help her. So it was a great, very rewarding, and that's if nothing else, that was one of the major goals that I had growing up, and I was able to achieve that.
I love that.
Yeah.
As a true man of God, it's such a refreshing thing to be able to chat with somebody who really understands what the language is, but actually you can tell that they apply it to their own lives. Tell me about faith in the major leagues. Like what does that look like? How does that play out with other players? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it really comes down to I think I want to believe, and I can't say this for sure, but I want to believe that it's a little easier today to live out your faith at the big league level or the NFL level, because there are so many more outspoken Christians. They back in the day, they used to call them Bible thumpers, baseball players that were, for Jesus. Oh, he's a Bible thumper. I don't really hear that term very much anymore, but that's how much of an oddball you kind of were. And not to say that it's easy by any means to declare, in this dark world that you're different and that you serve, Jesus, and that your life is meant for more, and you're kind of counterculture. Not to say that it's easy by any means, but I think it's just more commonplace now than it was then. But there were challenges, especially being a rookie, because you're going to take your lumps as a rookie regardless, Christian or not Christian. And now all of a sudden you're a rookie and you're a Christian. It's like two boxes that are checked. This like, I'm really sort of out of place here with these older players and guys that are around. And then the lifestyle that's lived, just to go and use the restroom in a big league clubhouse. If you have to go into a stall, you're basically kicking, pornography magazines from the stall into another stall just so you can, use the restroom and not have anything, bad to look at, And so things like that, just commonplace, pornography in different spots, and, guys that that are married, that are having extramarital relationships on the road, and just to have to kind of be around that, and then also when some of these families, and your wife may know. One thing I never did was I never told my wife like anything that happened on the road or anything that I was aware of, because I didn't want her to have this information.
Like jade her perspective.
Yeah. And I didn't want her to be sitting next to a wife in the stands and know that her husband is cheating on her, and she just has to sit on, I mean, it's just, so I didn't want to put her in that position. So it was, better off that she didn't know.
That's right.
And anything, because it kept things pure and innocent for her. Yeah. And so, these things, and so times, you'd have some little confrontations with guys, and never, from a real aggressive standpoint, but, guys like to play around and joke around. There's times where I may, give it back a little bit in a way, and try to challenge a guy to be, a better husband, and things like that. So, there's a lot to, the temptations and the opportunities that exist. That's why, having another brother, or, having a sister on your team, if you're female, and being able to have that fellowship and stick together was important. There were some dry times where I was the only one on a team. Right. And man, those were hard times, and you're like the only believer on a team. But then I had some, real times of plenty where I had, 2, 3, 4 believers on the team. So man, we could really band together and, on the road, go out to dinner, or, have Bible study in somebody's room, order desserts, and just, kind of pig out and have Bible study and fellowship. So, it wasn't always difficult, but you just had to, no matter what. And I think this is important for people to realize, is that it's so important for you to have an authentic relationship with the Lord, because sometimes we put, and we depend on people, we depend on a pastor, we depend on, a teacher, we depend on these different people to help us sort of stay connected to Jesus, when the Holy Spirit is there to guide us and lead us into all truth.
That's right.
And the more we embrace the intimacy and a relationship with the Holy Spirit to walk with the Lord, the more we'll be able to adapt to difficult circumstances, whether it's a time where, hey, I got people around cheering for me, or I got people around wishing that I, and hoping that I fail, that you can still, tap inside and know that I am not alone, and that, God is with me and God is for me.
It's amazed me through the years. We're about the same age.
Yeah.
And it's amazed me through the years. Some of the guys who have been most critical of my stance with who the Lord's going to be in my life. Later on in life, though, I've had the opportunity with a number of those same guys to really be able to speak truth. Like they saw truth being lived out in my life.
Right.
They might have ridiculed it at the time, but when push came to shove, hey, they wanted to know why is it that you're doing things differently?
Yeah.
That's a blessing. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. And that's, I think, the best way to win someone to Christ is by your life. Let your life speak. Let your love speak. It's not to say that, we cower back and we don't have an answer for, the reason why we believe what we do, or have the opportunity at times to kind of speak truth into darkness. But like you said, there's so many, stories of someone coming up to you and saying, hey man, I just want to thank you for, I remember I was at an alumni event at the University of Nevada, and I was a speaker, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And a guy came up to me that I didn't remember. He was on my football team, but he, says to me, says, hey, I just want to really thank you, man, because when we were in college, I watched how you lived, and I knew you were a Christian. I didn't understand it at the time. I was kind of against it and everything else. But he says, the Lord got a hold of my life, and you're one of the people that I remembered when he was dealing with me, and I remember how you lived.
That's
and
awesome.
And I don't even remember the teammate. I mean, I really didn't remember him. So to think, wow, someone you don't even really remember was watching your life, and paying attention to how you were living for Christ.
Yeah.
And like you said, it comes full circle. And, whether it's someone who comes up and shares a testimony of how they've given their lives to the Lord, or someone comes back to you later on and says, hey, it's time. I want to know about Jesus, and can you tell me? And my heart is open, rather than being, one that's persecuting you for what you believe. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's powerful. It's we hear the saying all the time, share the gospel and use words if you have to.
That's right.
I was just reading this morning, and Jesus, I think it was Matthew 16, and Jesus had told the disciples, I think after he'd asked Peter, who do you say that I am? And he said, you are the Christ. And then maybe a scripture or two later, he says, don't tell anyone that I'm the Christ or the Messiah. Yeah. And it's kind of like, wow, that's, you know, it's interesting because we're so, hey, you got to tell everybody about Jesus. You got to go out and you got to, you know, speak it. But there are times where the Lord has, I believe, has told me, and I think there are times for all of us where God's just like, hey, pull back a little bit. Don't overuse and waste your words.
He's going to be revealed in other ways.
Yeah, let your life speak. You know, don't say anything. You know, you're going into a place and it's like, don't say anything about me. Like, wait, that's not the Lord. That's got to be the devil telling me not to say anything about Jesus. But I think the Lord's much more strategic than we are, and we understand. And he knows, hey, there's going to be a time for you to speak, and there's a time for you to just, you know, be silent. But let your life and let your light shine at all times.
That's right. Yeah. You had a phenomenal career, 6 years minors, 6 years majors.
Yeah.
And then you've done some really cool things since then. ESPN analyst. You were doing color commentary on the show, right? The PlayStation video,
right now.
Which is a hoot, man. I love that. Like, I love the fact that you're doing that. Yeah. Tell us about the newest gig, though.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you over this.
Thank you. I'm working for the Major League Baseball Players Association, and, you know, for the past 2 years, it's been a little rough for me because I came out of broadcasting and trying to figure out, what am I going to do with myself? Am I going to go back to broadcasting? Am I going to go work for a team? What does it look like? And after you've worked for ESPN, you know, the worldwide leader in sports, it's a little hard to go somewhere else,
right? Because
you've experienced, you know, the pinnacle of sports broadcasting, sports media. So, you know, it's been a little of a tough time over the last year and a half, just, you know, trying to figure out, you know, what do I want to do? What's going to fuel me? And, you know, what am I passionate about? And so now I've taken a position with the Major League Baseball Players Association, and I am a special assistant, and my responsibilities are to help develop some of the programming initiatives around mental health, financial literacy, and career transition. And so, as we all know, mental health is it's not a respecter of persons, whether you're a pro athlete or you're just, you know, a soccer mom. Everyone has their challenges, or everyone or anyone can have challenges. And so we're seeing more baseball players publicly acknowledge that they're dealing with something, some type of mental disturbance, whether it's anxiety or depression. And so we see that across society as well. So with that, we don't want to be too far behind. We want to try to get, you know, out front some and start creating programming and resources for the players to be able to talk to someone and get the help, you know, that they need before it becomes a problem where they have to miss time. You know, and there are a couple of players that are great players, all-star caliber players, unfortunately, that have missed significant time over the last year or two, and their careers, you know, may be in jeopardy because, you know, the mental health situation has just been too much for them to overcome, to be able to go out and play.
But you're going to get to step into those situations.
Yeah, you know.
Your experiences that you bring to the table.
Yeah, and one of the things for me, I really have a heart and passion for it. I'm a certified mental health coach through the American Association of Christian Counselors, which just means that, you know, I've gone through some training and I can be a bridge for a person or a player to perhaps help kind of resolve their issue. You know, there's a type of therapy called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which kind of goes based upon, you know, our feelings started by a thought, and then it produced a feeling, and then it produces an action. And so getting back to, you know, what's that thought? Is it a lie? Is it a truth? Is it, you know, exaggerating? Let's identify what it is and sort of dismantle the little, you know, monster of anxiety or depression. And so just being able to serve and minister, you know, in that way to people is very rewarding to me, and I'm excited to be able to potentially do that, you know, for players. And we have, you know, professionals in terms of like psychiatrists, psychologists at the association, the Players Association level. So, you know, I'm able to perhaps connect with a player and then help them, and maybe they don't need, help at a higher level, or easily put them in connection.
Right.
Because that's the one thing too, is to make that phone call can be very hard for someone, and especially
say
for,
it's okay.
Yeah, for a pro athlete. I
Right.
mean, it's hard for anyone.
Yeah.
But for a pro athlete who's supposed to be, just macho man, right? And supposed to have it all together.
Yeah.
And thinking, wow, what if people knew that I don't have it all together? I'm supposed to be revered and playing at the highest level of the sport. So want to be able to make it just less stigmatized,
Right.
and just get to the heart of the matter.
Chris Singleton. I seriously, I love that. I mean, here you are, a Major League Baseball star, but now you're being able to invest back into this next round of athletes, and to really be able to speak truth, and to also know that it's not just truth from a psychologist, but you can also probably tap into some truth from God's word in there as well, and really be able to speak truth.
Right.
Chris, it is such a blessing. Thank you for coming on the show today.
My pleasure.
And teaching a lot of spiritual lessons and life lessons in the middle of this cool story of baseball. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.